Hello everyone and welcome to Thursday Live Lessons. My name is Aldrine Guerrero, joined by Mr. Aaron the Voice. Nakamura, what's up, Aaron?
What's up?
And by Mr. Kahai the Legend for again.
What's up?
It is time. It's Thursday, 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. That means it's time to be answering all of your questions. So what we do here is we get questions throughout the week. We try to answer them as best as we can here, no matter how we get the questions, via UU Plus forums, via email, via whatever, via whatever. We'll answer you as best as we can. I'll try to give you my answer. These two guys will come in with their 2 cents. We'll try to come up with a super answer just for you, as best as our 3 collective minds can. Also, if we don't get questions, we just do some nice discussions and stuff. It's a good time. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started. First off, Kahai, what do you think? Return the hat, baby.
Yeah.
Snazzy, what? Snazzy? Can they get this hat somewhere?
Nope. I don't.
Nope. Really? Oh, what up now? This limited edition hat that is no longer out. Now I'm a hype beast, Kahai.
Yeah.
Wearing stuff that people can't get. You couldn't get this color even if you had a person no genie.
Yeah.
You know that song?
I'm surprised that that hat isn't a play on Supreme or something.
It should.
Yeah.
It should. I'm just gonna like in crayon put Supreme underneath or something. Yeah, hype beast, baby.
I used to, when we used to go to Taco Bell, I used to go, Mom, can I get the Supreme? So she put that like SU.
Good answer. Supreme. We back in the day, like the keyboard to have was a Triton, like Korg Triton, and our keyboard player for our band back then, Seth McCumber. He had like a Yamaha from like Radio Shack or whatever. Yeah. We just put like duct tape over Yamaha and put Triton. Like Triten, like Triton, and then Korg with a C. Just over it, just to make like hey, it's our Korg Triton. Good stuff. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today. Let's get started with some questions. Kahai, hit me with some.
We didn't really have a question. It's kind of hard.
Okay.
Okay. Because in the forum, so there's a guy, and it's actually pretty cool. He asked for help with memorizing chord or scales. And here, let me just read it.
Yeah, sure.
I think the answer to this is just review and practice, but any suggestions on learning scales and scale patterns? I know the concept of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and I can figure out any scale by doing this, but I have a hard time remembering a particular scale other than C and F. After coming back to it, he has a hard time remembering a particular scale after coming back to it for the next practice session.
Yeah.
So in order to figure out whatever scale I'm looking for, I find the starting note, and then I figure out whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half again. Again, I think the answer is just practice, but I was just curious if there are any tricks or printed exercises that you felt were helpful. But then later on, I answered him and I said, we'll talk about this in the live lesson, and we'll kind of expand on this. But I answered him the basic idea of movable chord shapes and like what you can do and stuff.
Yep.
And then he came back like immediately, and he was like, "Oh, I actually figured it out by myself." Like it was a light bulb moment. I was practicing, and I'm like, "Oh, these are all the same, and I can just move them up and down."
Yep. Yeah. So good answer, Kahai. Yeah, good job, man. Kahai doing us proud, but
we did cover it in Solo Secrets Revealed.
I was just gonna say that. So Solo Secrets Revealed will be the place to go if you want to really get proficient, get familiar with your scales. Just regular major and minor scales, but we have we do have what's called scale shapes over on Soul Secrets Revealed, and what that is if he already said he knows his C and F, right? So if you know your C, just kind of look at this like a box, okay? So 0, 1, 2, 3 is what you're playing, right? So in this like kind of range of your fretboard. So if you were to kind of attach that to a pattern, it would be 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3.
That's talking about the C string, the E string, and the A string.
So 0, 2 on the C, on the E, 0, 1, 3, On the A, 0, 2, 3. So if you just to say it, it'd be 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. If you do this, all throughout your fretboard, just like how this is a G, this is a G sharp, this is an A, this is a B flat, this is a B, this is a C. Same thing. If this is a C, this must be C sharp. This must be a D. This must be a D sharp. This must be an E. This must be an F. So with
that's starting and
yeah.
ending on the same note, so
Same
you just
note.
line it up with the note on the C string or the A string, and you have the scale for that.
Yeah, exactly. So
key.
if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, and we said 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. If I were to try to figure out a D scale, I would figure out where the D laid on the C string. D laid. Where the D is on the C string, which is C string 2nd fret here. And I would just make this my 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So these four frets right here, I'll just try to emulate my C scale since I know that. So it'll be 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. Once again, so it'll be 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. And that's how I figured that out so fast. Shout out any note, Kai. Give me any note, whatever note you want.
An F sharp.
F sharp. So pop, up, 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 up. This is an F. This is F sharp.
F sharp
Bam,
scale.
right there. F sharp scale, right off the bat, easy peasy. You know. So if you check out Solo Secrets Revealed, you'll have all of your questions pretty much answered. And it's like an efficient way to kind of know those because the minor scales are like basically just that major scale, but you have to figure out whatever it is a step and a half up. So for example, if you're trying to figure out an A minor scale, right? So just do that same. So a step and a half up from A, step and a half, B, C. If you know the C major scale, same thing as as your A minor scale, same notes. It won't be starting from A to A, but those will be the notes within your A minor. Yeah.
It's and then I explained too. It's like I said, F sharp, right?
Yeah.
But then if I said like what are the names of the notes in F sharp for you?
Yeah.
Like you would still have to think like F sharp, G
You
sharp.
gotta go back and think
exactly.
about it.
But you don't need to know those things in order to play it, right?
Yeah, because you know the shape.
Yeah, with the shape. Just kind of play within that shape. You should be all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what most musicians do is they don't necessarily, or at a certain point they stop like names of notes stop becoming important. It's more about like, oh, this shape or this muscle memory or like I can hear it, like tonally I can hear it. And that's what's important, right?
Yeah. So if you check out Soul Seekers Revealed, all that stuff will be kind of explained. It'll also kind of show you some riffs and tips and tricks and stuff that you can do if you ever wanted to do solos. It also shows you a Mixolydian scale and just kind of doing this is what's called an Ionian scale. That just regular major scale. Mixing the Ionian scale with the Mixolydian scale. It sounds really cool, and that's basically what a lot of professional like ukulele players do when they're soloing. That's why we call it Solo Secrets Revealed, because professionals know this. And what is that clickbaity title? Like, people got mad because he revealed this one secret about the ukulele. It's basically that. Yeah.
Also based on like magicians.
Magic
secrets revealed.
Yeah.
Well, when we filmed that little Easter egg, when we filmed that, you guys said magic, but I actually thought about like the wrestling secrets revealed. There was I think it was Owen Hart was notorious too. Like he wore like a mask and stuff like so that people didn't know who he was, but he was like showing all the secrets of like wrestling, professional wrestling, and quote unquote fake wrestling. So that's what I thought of, because that's where my mind goes. Now I guess it's magic revealed, but back then it was definitely wrestling. Just like this shirt.
Yeah.
Panda Pow Drive everybody.
Also, we just released play along for Island Style.
Yes.
And if you go to the page on Ukulele Underground for that play along, below it we have like a little video where Aldrine kind of breaks down the solo that he did, because he did that, like he improvised that solo and he explains how he
what I was thinking, what I did.
Because the original is in the key of C, but John wanted to play it in B flat.
Yeah.
And so you had to create a new solo for it on the fly in the key of B flat. So instead of having to think of all of the notes in the key of B flat,
I just kind of shifted all the notes over a step down.
Just use your two boxes, and then he shows some other things that he did in the solo too, but it's worth a look.
Yeah, make sure to check that out. And I saw that like Alan was extremely appreciative of that, because Alan's been wanting to kind of do some solos, and he's been wanting to kind of get in my head about some panis, especially for Hawaiian sounding songs like island style. So it's kind of cool because I shared a lot of my insight. So make sure you check that out. Once again, I apologize for my ukulele on that play along. Just the elements really did get the best of my uke. It was and I tuned it not just once or twice or 3 times. I tuned it many times. But as soon as we started playing, it's just it was, you can actually
hear that it was more in tune towards the beginning of the song
than it was towards the end. It just kind of kept getting bad. And I'm not gonna apologize for John, because John has a legit excuse of why his voice is all hoarse. The night before, he was rocking out, and like a 45-minute set or something, like just full rock show. He's really using his voice. The next day, it's like, oh, John, can you film with us? Like, okay, he did us a favor. Like, he actually didn't want to like charge us. Like, he just kind of did it, and then we're like, no, here. Like, I had to like run after him. Like, here's let's give you some money for this. Like, he's a really cool dude, and it's just you. And I told Mike, Aaron, and Kai this, but he's so local that like you can take the boy from the island, but you can't take the island from the boy. Because John, as I found out from Aaron, like he went to school in New York, he did all this stuff, but like that day he was still so local boy. Like him and his brother were so ecstatic about finding a net like that was just like left there. Like he's like, oh, check out this net, and he's like, oh, like a fishing net and stuff. It's just it was good fun, and kind of seeing John, like in that like just very casual setting is really cool. I mean, I've been humble brag, but I've been friends with John for for a long time. He comes to Kauai often. And he used to do the Kauai Music Festival a lot, and that's kind of how we met and stuff. And John actually gave me my first gig on Oahu. Like we were playing at this place called On Stage in Kapahulu. That's actually his gig, and he's like, "Oh, I can't make it this month to On Stage. Would you guys want to play On Stage this month?" Cool. I was like, yes. And and I didn't see the venue. I didn't know what the venue was. Like, oh my god, we're gonna play a venue that John Cruz is supposed to play in. And we get there, I'm like, there's like it's 5-10 people, and it's like a bar. It's 3 hours with like crap pay. I think we went home with like $30 for like the 3 hours that we played.
But like that's pretty telling of John too. Yeah. Because John, like, he is like pretty well known around the world. Yeah,
and he's played out like big venues and stuff.
But he'll play small venues like that too.
Yeah, sold out big venues, and he still like just loves playing music. So he'll play.
It was awesome. I love that. You used to play that place, right? On stage.
I used to play on stage too.
Yeah. I know, like I read like a comment on I think John was playing with Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
And they were playing like Island Style or something. And then somebody said like, oh, I love to go to like whatever bar that John and his brother just like jam at, and it's so fun. And it's like, they still like play those kinds of things, It's like, he's like super down to earth, right? Like, and then that's why I think it was like cool. Like we could just ask him like, oh, can we do this video with you? And he's like, yeah. Sure. Just like tell me when, and I gotta leave before then. But besides that, just tell me when. And
he was a cool dude. He just like. Because I guess Mike was our contact that time, because Mike was jamming with John at said concert like the night before, and then Mike's like, oh, John said he'll be willing to kind of do a video with you guys. We're like so stoked. We're like, oh my god, we gotta get this out. We didn't even know until like the day before or something that we were gonna film with John. It's like Aaron tell Kahai to come down to the south side. Let's film Island Style. Like, we're gonna do Island Style with John Cruz. I'm so stoked. You know. And we get there and his voice is all hash, and like, oh, it's cool. We can still salvage it.
The thing too is that he's been playing like a guitarlele.
Yeah.
And so half of his set was supposed to be guitarlele, half of it was like a electric guitar. And I think that night the TLL didn't work, or like worked for like a song or two, and then it didn't work. And so he played the rest of the set with his electric guitar. And so even more so, he had to like
really wail out.
really sing above the the electric guitar.
But that's John Cruz. You know, he'll I've always kind of I've taken this to heart, because when I talked to John one time after the Quiet Music Festival, it's like, how do you get so much soul? I was like, how do you get so much soul out of your voice, you know? And he's like, you gotta think in your head that every single song is about you and about hardship and about whatever, like, you know, and sing songs that like that will get you, you know, to get that soul out and stuff. If you're singing Sitting Here in Limbo or Island Style, you know, you have to make like that is your mama in the kitchen, you know, cooking dinner real nice. Like, you have to make like that's you, because if you're just saying words, then that's all it is just words. But if you picture yourself in that story that the singer or the storyteller is trying to tell, then it means a little bit more to you. And that's like the best advice that he ever gave me. It's like, oh man, that's really cool. And that's how he sings with such soul, because like he's basically singing his life story, you know, like especially with a song like Island Style, like that's his story. Like, that's his mom in the kitchen and his grandmother, we gotta go help her out with the yard, you know, because it was really cool. So John's probably not watching, but thank you, John, for all the good stuff, man. Thank you for all the advice. Thank you for always being super cool to jam and stuff. So mahalo, brother.
Yeah, because he's one of the guys where like we were just kind of looking up, like he's written a lot of his own songs, but there are a bunch of his songs that he put out on albums that were written by other people. Yeah, but he sings them like
as if it's his.
Yeah,
like you can't even tell it's a cover. Yeah. Because we were talking about Sitting Here in Limbo was a Jimmy Cliff song, but then he like it's like, oh, that's I guess John is sitting there in limbo.
Like that's kind of like for a lot of local artists, right? That we like grew up with and stuff. It's funny because like as kids, like, or you just think like, oh, that's their song, that's their original, and then it's only later that you find out like, oh, they're covering like a totally different person, or like for us, it's just like a bunch of Kyle Crater Boy songs, right? Where I remember was like I Hear Music, and we know that song from Kyle Crater Boys, but like when we tried to look up like who did the original, we couldn't find it, right? And then it was only like we were driving back from a shoot, and Aaron heard it on the radio. It was on the radio, and Aaron was like, "Holy crap, this is super I Hear Music." And we're like, "Whoa, what? This is the original." So it's like there's just like I think a bunch of local artists for us, like they sing it so well and in such a style we recognize as like their own, that we don't like, you know, we don't really know like, oh, this is from Bob Dylan, or this is from, you know, whoever.
That was also like before the internet, so it's not like we could like look it up and stuff or look at the lyrics. That's like that's the only version that we knew growing up, you know, like we didn't know, or we didn't have access to anything that would kind of give us information. Baby Drop wasn't, you know, original by Manao Company. It was like by someone else, you know. I think the same person who did I Hear Music, right?
Is it?
No,
maybe not.
No.
I still don't know.
Yeah, actually, I Hear Music wasn't. It was like another local artist, but yeah.
Even stuff like "Crazy Without You" by Pure Heart. I always thought that was a Pure Heart song, and then like that's another like local artist, you know, like from back then. That who was it that showed me that song? Someone from like the Ukulele Underground forums told me that like, oh, "Crazy Without You" is actually by blah blah. I was like, what? Blew my mind. But yeah, so thank you so much. If you guys check that video out, let us know what you think. It is in B flat, so it's a little tricky, but I think the trickiest chord there's an E flat, which is not too bad. You just kind of do this shape instead of trying to do that two finger barred E flat there, so you're all good, you know. So just try that out. If not, just, you know, kick back and enjoy a nice like jam with friends, because it's myself, John, and Mike Odo, Magic Mike, you know, from the Thursday Live stuff. So sure to check that out. Let us know what you think. It was a lot of fun to film. What would you? Is that the first time you met John Cruz, guy?
I don't know.
Because it seems like Because
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before. Like John Cruz is like
I,
people know him, and he's local enough that like it's not unusual for somebody to know John Cruz. You know?
yeah. Like when I told my dad, like I was like, "Oh, we're gonna go film with John."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, I don't remember the last time John came down to my shop and he just hung out for a little bit and played music."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty."
Yeah,
Something that
so
he
it's
would do,
really, really
yeah.
cool because he's that guy. He's that local boy.
He-
You know, like he doesn't want to draw attention himself either. He's just like super local about
What?
stuff.
When we talk about like, oh,
Mm.
you know, learning in Hawaii is like you just go down to wherever and you see somebody playing music and go, "Oh, hey uncle, you can teach me that song."
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
they just
yeah,
go
yeah.
like, "Okay, shoots here,
Yeah.
like take this," and then you play these chords. John is like really the epitome of that idea.
Mhm.
Yeah, like
He's
super
super cool,
local, and even we went to me and Aaron went and saw John and Mike and their whole band like
At the rehearsal.
yeah,
Yeah.
rehearse a little bit. And after we left, I was like, man, John is so good.
Mhm.
And you can tell that he's playing things
Mhm.
and he doesn't really, it's like we were just talking about,
Mhm.
he doesn't know the notes that he's playing,
Mhm.
but he knows that he's playing them right?
Yeah, but
Like,
he went to
if
like music school, right? So
But I'm not too sure if it was for
For
like
playing.
Yeah, yeah, it might have been for like
Songwriting.
more theater. and,
oh,
Yeah, if you like, I feel like it's the same thing too. If you ask him like, oh, what is like the notes that you're playing, the name of the notes, he'd be like, it's
this
just
one and this one.
yeah, like
and
he'd
this
show
one.
you just like
yeah.
you just play around like over here and then it sounds pretty good, you know. You just do it like that. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I mean, loved loved kind of meeting him for the first time back in Kauai Music Festival, and he's been like super nice ever since. You know, he's never given me that vibe of like this guy again. You know, like that. Like I have way better things to do than like hang out with Aldrine. You know, it's like he's never given me that vibe. It's a really cool dude.
You probably never gave anybody that.
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. If you guys ever get a chance to meet John Cruz, you should do so. You should go check him out because he's awesome.
And not somebody who's hard to track down either.
Yeah,
If you're on
that's
Oahu, it's
yeah,
like,
he's everywhere.
Well, where does
it's
he live
Maui.
now? Maui.
Maui, yeah, Maui.
But he really is all over the
All
place.
over,
so,
yeah.
just check.
And he plays with big names too, like we just said, Jack Johnson and stuff. Like he's done some big shows. Do we have any other questions, Kaha?
Kind of.
Okay.
Going back to.
Well, we are live. We have a live chat. So if you guys have any questions, just ask them on the chat.
Yeah, going back to earlier. So Renee asked, so the shape is where you solo from?
The the shape is basically the box, and those notes within the shape is what you use to solo. So for example, using that shape of 02, 013, 023, if we were to do that with with a D scale, so 02, 013, 023, these are the notes that I'm going to be using to solo in the key of D. So give me a kind of a D progression. So all I did was just go up and down that that scale, and it just kind of put a little bit of articulation in there and some rhythm, some tricky rhythm stuff. But other than that, I mean, those you can just use those notes within that box, and you should be all good. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure to check out Soul Secrets Revealed. It really reveals everything, and it makes me look like a noob after people watch it. Like, the stuff that Aldrine's doing is not that impressive.
He's just doing the same
He's
thing.
just doing the same thing. So once you watch that, you're like, oh man.
I think
This entire time I thought Aldrine was good.
well, like that's what you just did
Yeah.
right now. Like too, it's like different levels, right? Too, because like what you just did right now, playing in the Ionian and like keeping to that,
Yeah.
the major scale basically. That's like level 1, and then adding the Mixolydian, right? Like that's like level 2,
Yeah.
and then you kind of like playing in between.
Yeah. Level
Those
3.
two boxes
Yeah.
is level 3, and then you can keep adding to it. But like that is a good starting point. It's just doing like doing that first major
Yeah,
scale or
yeah.
doing the first Ionian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good stuff. So hopefully that
And-
helps, Renee. Check out that series. It's awesome. I think you would love it.
I think the reason why people have a hard time too conceptualizing movable chord shape or not chord shapes, scale shapes, is because most people learn C first, right?
Yeah.
And they learn it like you play the open string, you use your middle finger, then you play E string, and then you use your pointer ring, then you use your A string, and then it's your middle and ring, right? But that's not how you play the box. Yeah, the box is like a little bit different. So when people try to start learning the box, they have to learn new finger positions too, and kind of. But like when you actually look at it, it's like the most efficient way to play that like the major scale box.
Yeah,
is you just like, and so that's why I was like telling like, some people get it with like 023. 013 023 02 013 023, right?
Yeah.
That formula. But I was telling like the person I was answering on the forum too. I said that for me it's pointer ring, pointer middle pinky, pointer ring pinky. Yeah. Like that's that, and then like even that you can. And I was saying too, like if you learn that pattern, you can practice that without your ukulele too, because you can just tap your finger to your thumb. If you tap it to your thumb, that's like you're pressing down on the frets. And to not like get like some people too might think like, oh, but how do you know what frets to play? And it's like you just lay your hand down on the frets, and it's
pointer,
gonna be
pointer finger, middle, ring, pinky on a different fret.
It's always gonna be whatever fret it lies naturally on, right? You're never like, oh, I gotta slide over to the next one, or I gotta move it like that.
Yeah, just to kind of know your place, like, right? Just kind of to know where it's at. Yeah, it's a good place to start and stuff.
Yeah, and that's like, and I kind of like telling people like that too, because it's instead of memorizing a formula or memorizing like a pattern or something, it is a pattern, but you're using your muscle memory, and that's really what you want at the end, right? Like, is
so
to be
you
able to
even have to
slide
think
that,
about it
and
at
then
all.
Your fingers just engage. I think like that's why you'll hear like too, if somebody's like improvising or something, you'll hear like people go like do this start, right? And they kind of like understand like, oh, okay,
it's like breathing.
And then you can either like finish the major scale shape and you can actually like you can kind of figure out the key that way too, right? Because if it's like, and if this note doesn't sound right, then you know that it's like probably the mixolydian position.
Interesting.
It like it's stuff like that. I think it seems complicated, but like you start doing it and you use your fingers and your body memorize it more than you're like actively thinking about it.
I mean, any way to memorize it. If you want to memorize it with the numbers, if you want to memorize it with your fingers and stuff, as long as you're kind of memorizing and knowing what sounds good, like that's mainly the important part and stuff. Like I wouldn't necessarily do it, with my fingers, kind of memorizing the fingers. I would still do it with the numbers, because I feel like if I try to memorize it with my fingers, it's a great idea. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good idea. It's a great idea, kind of using your muscle memory. But that's if I'm just gonna stay in that box. But if I'm coming from somewhere else, like say going to the next box,
you might use a different finger.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. You might use a different finger. So in some case, it's not bad. Like it's not a bad idea. Good way.
I think it's easier though, like because when you move to like the next, you move to mixolydian, learning mixolydian, then you just change your ring to your middle, So it's like pointer ring, pointer middle pinky, pointer middle pinky.
Yeah.
And so like just
I like it.
Yeah, I tell people that too, or give them that as an option, because it really is like learning through feeling. And then I think I think some people get confused too with the idea that with like 0-2, right? But then they're like, but I'm on the 5th fret, but I have to think of it as zero. Right? Like there's no confusion in that sense, right? You're always like, okay, it doesn't matter whatever fret I'm playing, I'm always playing pointer ring,
Mhm.
pointer,
Yeah, that makes
pointer
sense.
ring, pinky.
Yeah. So it's a great way. I mean, like any way that you can remember it, really. Like I'm
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
I'm down for it, and stuff.
That
But-
that's kind of like an alternative that I tell people when people say like I'm having a hard time understanding movable
Right, the 0
shapes and
to
stuff.
it can get confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you learn and learn playing the C scale like the way that most people teach it, right? Like that makes sense, but then it doesn't really translate to movable shapes, right? Like when you're actually playing, you have to use different fingers, and I think people that's what confuses people too. Because they're like, oh, but I'm not used to using my pointer finger.
Yeah,
for
there's no
the first
open
note.
string
for the
when
first
you
one.
move it.
Yeah.
Like, and that correlation of like using, oh, okay, the first note that I play is my pointer finger.
Yeah.
So
And I don't necessarily like using my pinky. Like I think that's
Yeah, so that's
the
why
thing. That's
too.
why, because I
Yeah.
like to do.
You hardly use your pinky.
Yeah, I hardly use it. It's always kind of up here. And
yeah,
stuff. But I mean, like I'm saying, it works and it's good because it forces me to kind of use my pinky because that makes sense,
Yeah,
But
less movement.
yeah, less move. But I mean, the less fingers that I use, the easier for me. But it is different. But it's a great way. It's a great way to remember that. So if you're having a hard time using like the zero, like to zero things out, 0 2 with the numbers and stuff, definitely like if any way that you can. That's all I'm saying. Any way you can learn it, all good. That's what really matters. Yeah.
In the chat, Renee kind of had like an aha moment where she said that it kind of clicked hearing the scale as a solo.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of one of those things that
Like,
everybody.
what do I do with do re mi?
Yeah, everybody is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to learn the scales?
Yeah.
Like it's so boring.
Yeah.
But then
yeah.
if you apply it, it's like it's pretty useful. Like making up solos, figuring out solos. Yeah.
Yeah, once you watch that series, you're gonna be like unimpressed by a lot of the stuff that you see. So
Well,
maybe I don't know.
a
It's
lot
kind of
of
like
the things-
peeking behind the magician's curtain.
Yeah.
Once you see how things are done, you might
Yeah.
not be as impressed
Watch-
with magic.
Watch any ukulele player after that,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, everybody's doing pretty much the
I think-
same thing.
Yeah.
but like that show too, like Magician's Secret Revealed, right? Like a lot of magicians too, like they're like, I don't really care about that show, like what they showed and stuff,
Yeah.
because they showed a tiny portion of magic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's only like the people who got offended by that were the people who only did that portion of magic.
That type of
The people
Yeah.
who are like, oh, like Copperfield, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care if you show that. 'Cause, yeah, you show like
He
one
knows
of my
like
tricks.
3-4 other ways to
Yeah.
do that same trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I can do it on the fly. I can change things. I can rearrange things. So that's the same thing too with like musicians. I feel like is
I
like
don't get intimidated by that just because like, oh yeah, so 0 2 0 1 3 0 2 3. How about 0 1 2 3 0 1 2 3 0 1 2 3? That's like that'll blow your mind right out of the water. Like
no wrong notes.
No wrong notes. So let's give an example of this, Aaron. So I'll first do the 0 2 0 1 3 0 2 3, and then I'll go to in D. Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so you were
So you can-
playing every note in the box.
In the box, it's like it's possible to play every single note in the box, but it's like kind of knowing tastefully when to do that and when not to do that.
So once
yeah.
you kind of know what the correct notes are, you
You can
can.
dance around them.
Yeah.
well, like
cool.
But you still have to know that first.
Yes.
In order to
Yeah.
do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like kind of steps,
Mhm.
levels of knowledge.
yeah, like I think I actually like what Victor Wooten says, where he says that the scale that people don't practice that they should practice and practice
Chromatic,
soloing
yeah.
in is the chromatic, right?
Mhm.
And that's the thing is like if you're comfortable with playing the wrong note, then you're comfortable basically playing any note. You're not, and I think that's what catches people off guard is that they're so focused on like, oh, I gotta play, I gotta play the right note, I gotta play the notes in the scale, I gotta do that, and it's not really their fault, because like if you're told like practice your scales and make sure you're never like moving off of the scale, which is a traditional way of teaching music, right? Like it's pretty untraditional to say like, oh, just you should play every single note on the fretboard, and it doesn't really matter as long as like, or even he says like it doesn't even matter if you fix it or not. Is like you can just stick with it, and it's kind of more your intention, right? Like if you say like, oh, I played this wrong note, but I'm just gonna stick with it, then you kind of change the whole intention of the song, and you gotta, it's having that confidence.
Let's show an example of that. Let's do that one more time. It's like completely wrong, but like, oh, okay.
but the difference between that and
the
somebody
butt clench.
Like I think the difference you can hear between that and somebody who's not comfortable is like they'll hit that wrong note and then they try to correct by like muting it or by like doing something and then it just brings more attention to it. It's like,
more attention to it.
That was weird. So
that's one where like wrong, but it's actually right. It's why I intended to play that note,
and that's kind of why they said too, like musicians who play like pop music or jazz or like more modern music, they're more comfortable with improvising than classically trained musicians.
Definitely,
because classically trained musicians are told like stay within this limits, right? Like don't move. There are songs where you can move out of it, but unless you're told to, like try and stay in these limits. So it's kind of restricting to do that. And that's why they have a hard time.
I mean, I've jammed with some people and stuff. I'm not gonna say names, but where like they're amazing. They're like super amazing, like musicians and stuff. I'm a big fan, but we're like kind of just jamming. We're jamming like a 2-5-1 song and stuff, and then they're like, I'm doing a solo, some other ukulele players doing a solo, and then it comes to this person, and I'm just like, man, this guy's gonna kill it. And it's like they have the hardest time like soloing in that 2-5-1 because they're just so used to like knowing what the right notes are supposed to be for them to kind of like pull out notes for themselves, to think of their own kind of thing. It's a little bit tough. But for me, I mean, I've played the wrong note enough to be comfortable with the wrong notes, because now it's like, whatever, I'm half step away from the right one, so it's fine. It's fine. Just work it. Just work it.
But so definitely learn your scales, be able to apply them. And then if you make a mistake, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's not a mistake. It's your solo. You know what? Improvisation, that means it's your solo. You're making it up. Nobody can tell you that it's wrong because it's yours, I
think, well, like, if you're getting stressed out with, like, practicing scales and stuff, that's, like, a pretty fun exercise to just, like, put something on and say, like, I'm gonna intentionally, I know this song is in D, I'm gonna play this in C or something, I'm gonna, like, and, like, forcing yourself, and it's kind of, because it sounds silly, like, you're like, oh, that's not right, but if you feel like, oh, that's not right, but I don't care, like, this is intentionally, I'm trying to play this as wrong as I can. It kind of like it gets the stress out. Like you're not worried anymore too. So that's just a good like break if you're so focused on, okay, I'm gonna practice all my skills. I'm gonna practice scale shapes. I'm gonna do this. It's like sometimes you just need a little thing where it's just like, I'm just gonna goof around and have fun.
Get comfortable. All right, so next up.
That was pretty much it for the questions like from this week. Only that from the forum, and then that guy, like, I was excited about, like, oh, we'll talk about it Thursday, and we did, but then he came back and he's like, oh yeah, I figured it out. It really is though, right? Like a lot of those times, if you try it, it kind of just like clicks in your
just
clicks.
Something will click. Okay, story time. Last night I want to tell you guys about this. Last night, usually when right before I play, I stretch out my strings just so that it's not off tune, just like in the John Cruz video. So I would, I'd just kind of play it, I'd tune it regular, and then I'd kind of pull on the strings, not further than this. I'd just kind of pull it like that. Yesterday, I pulled in my E string, and actually have not, like a bad boy, I've not changed my strings in months, and I just abused the crap out of my ukulele and my strings. I've not changed it in months, so I was stretching my E string, and pop, it goes like 5 minutes before the show starts. And I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna do? I think I have some spare strings in my case. So I look at my case. There were spare strings, but there was no. But the only spare string I had was a spare C string, and why? It's because it's the one that's least likely to break. Yeah. I don't have any more A strings or G strings because those break like right away. E, I guess, is broken before, so I've used E strings, but I never, ever, ever break the C string. So I'm like, you know what? It's better than not playing tonight. Like I just, I took the C string and I placed it right where the E should be. So I had 2 C strings. So it was G, C, C, A.
No, but you tuned it to an E.
I tuned it to an E, but like the strings, the gauges are supposed to be in a C. Yeah. It's not too bad because it's 2 steps up. So Canadian tuning would be F sharp. But then Canadian tuning is F sharp, or no, sorry, D. On the C string, it's a D. So it's just another step up from Canadian tuning. So it's not too bad. But since it was here, I was kind of worried that it would mess up my what is the tension, the tension on the strings would kind of mess up my ukulele and the intonation and whatnot. It actually worked out just fine. I did loosen the strings after the show was done so that it doesn't do any more damage because it's not supposed to handle that much pressure. So I did just fine. I just had to kind of stay away from anything that required bending the E string because in order for me to bend it, I really had to force bend the crap out of that E string. I'm not Andrew Molina, you know what I mean? I'm not I don't play with super duper high tension strings and stuff, but it was fine. And talking about it with Aaron after the show reminded me of back in high school, because I told Aaron, I'm like, I actually used to use 2 C's, and I just remembered that while talking with Aaron.
He was like, this is actually not the first time that I've used the C string gauges on the C and the E.
Yeah. So back in the day, I was watching a Pure Heart special on Hot Hawaiian Nights, and I saw that Jake Shimabukuro, was playing an ukulele with 2 wound strings in the middle, and the only wound string, in my knowledge at that point, was GHS strings and the aluminum wound string C
for the
C string.
Yeah,
and I was like, how the heck is Jake using 2 wound C strings? Isn't that dangerous? That crazy? So I tried it myself, and because I wanted to be back then, I want to be just like Jake, if it's good enough for Jake, it must be the best. Anything that Jake does must be the best thing in the world. So I'm like, I'm gonna be just like Jake Shimabukuro and put 2 wound C strings on my ukulele, on my tiny Kamaka ukulele too. It wasn't
a concert
Kamaka ukulele. It wasn't even like a tenor. So bad. So I was playing it, and I could barely, and I mean barely, bend that string, because back then, my fingers doesn't have the same dexterity that I do now, and I don't have the same strength back then that I do now. So it was just unmovable. You couldn't bend it at all. But because it was what Jake did, I was like, oh yeah, this sounds pretty good. The feel is great. It's the best. It sounds so good. Yeah, myself.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, this is the best sounding setup ever. I don't know why I didn't do this before. Why? It is. Oh man, that Jake really knows what he's doing, And like I brought it to school, and my friends are like, "Why'd you do this? Like, what? This sounds terrible. Like, you can't even do it." I'm like, "No, it makes the sound bigger because you get two C's and the two wound strings. It's like it's making the sound bigger. You just don't know. Like you don't have the same sophisticated ears that me and Jake Shimabukuro has. Like you just, you know what." Your opinions doesn't matter.
Did you ever ask Jake like why he did that?
Okay. No, okay. So I come to find out. So when I did meet Jake for the first time, and I asked him, Jake, what strings? Because I stopped using after like a week or two and stuff. I'm like, nah, I'm going back, and so I don't care if that's what Jake does. I would love to sound just like Jake, but it's just not working out for me. Like I can't. I would rather be able to bend my E string than to have a good sound, or so a good sound. Like because I thought that's what he was doing. When I finally met him, I saw his strings, and it was like plastic wound strings, and it was Savarez, and Savarez makes a wound C and E string for the ukulele, which would be a G and a B string on the guitar, because Savarez only makes guitar strings back in the day. So what I saw on TV, because it's just like little boy watching TV, it's like wound strings, two of them, and after I felt so embarrassed, and I think I remember telling Jake, it's like, oh, I thought you were using two wound strings, because he told me it was Savarez. I was like, oh, I thought you were using two wound strings, and I used two wound strings in my ukulele. I was like, oh no, like did it break and stuff? Like I would imagine that thing breaking. I'm like, no, I took it off after a week because I couldn't handle.
yeah.
But yeah, like Aaron was saying,
they were like two wound strings, but different gauges and plastic wound, not
aluminum wound, like how GHS strings was.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was it's kind of like Emperor's New Clothes. We're like, yeah, this looks great. Like, can't you see?
Man.
Like I look so elegant. I was like, Aldrine's naked. You guys see him naked? He's totally naked.
That sounds terrible, Aldrine. I don't know how to tell you, but
it feels terrible. It sounds terrible. It's like, no, your ears are not as refined, like because the best player in the world right now uses two C's, so I'm also going to be using two C's,
and then come to find out that he wasn't.
Egg on my face. Yeah. Egg on my face.
Aren't those stories like the best though? Because sometimes they actually do lead to like good musical discoveries and stuff, right?
Yeah,
like,
not this one.
yeah, but it's
you
a
had
fun
to try
story
it to find out, right?
Yeah,
it's still a fun story. And like my favorite one is like I think Herbie Hancock. He said he was playing with Miles Davis.
Yeah,
and he's like, Miles, how do I play like you, and how do I play better? And Miles Davis said, don't play the bottom notes, meaning like the bass notes, right? Like play everything above that. But Herbie Hancock, he said, don't play the butter notes. And he was like, what is butter notes? So he's like, oh, okay, I guess like, in a C chord, it's like C, so I can play like E, G, E, G. Or like in in A minor, I'll play A minor and E, but I won't play the C. Like he would pick and choose his notes.
Yeah.
And then I think he said that Miles Davis was like, wow, you're playing a lot better. What are you playing? And he's like, oh, I listened to you. I'm not playing the butter notes anymore. And Miles Davis was like, butter note? What are you I said bottom. Like, don't play the bottom note. But like that's and
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. But he played around with it enough that he got good at it.
Yeah, and it kind of became his signature sound. Like that's what people would know him for. Like, oh, he plays around with notes that you don't think of.
I'm glad that I didn't get known for playing two wound C's.
That'd be pretty funny.
That'd be dumb. That'd be so dumb.
But I mean, like, Taimane, like, right? Doesn't she have like a double like low G?
Double low G, double low G.
And she like works it, so like I guess if you just work with it, like people will not question you, right?
It was fine, and last night it was fine. I wasn't scared about it snapping because it was tuned so high, and so because it's such a thick string, I knew that it wasn't gonna snap. So I knew that going in, and because I've done it before, I knew it was gonna be fine. And because it wasn't aluminum wound, more so it wouldn't snap and stuff. It's just I knew I had to deal with a really tight E, and because I changed it 5 minutes before the show, I knew it was gonna it was gonna go down. Yeah, it was gonna slack and it was gonna go off tune. But honestly, like I think towards like the middle of the set, like it was actually going sharp. It was like the weirdest thing. So, you know, I pulled it off. I handled it like a pro should, and no one knew. I actually announced it on the microphone. I'm like, to all ukulele players out there, I just broke my E. I didn't have an E in my case, so I'm using 2 C strings. So if you know anything about ukulele, you're gonna know that this should be ridiculous.
It's not the optimal way of playing.
Did you have people like, oh, okay, well, hurry up the set so you can
Yeah.
get through it
Yeah.
and detune your ukulele? Like,
Yeah, it was
no
fine.
one
And I
can do
mean,
that.
like the first few songs and stuff, I was like doing some like tuning adjustments, like mid song. But after that, I think after the 3rd or 4th song, it was fine. And then I think after the first hour, like it started kind of going sharper, which is weird. You know, like I don't know what caused it to do that, but it's fine. I would just retune it again, and it was fine. It held its tune. It was all good. I mean, AG cross AQ strings, guys. If there's any, you know.
Yeah. Next time you should have more packs in your case.
Of my own strings.
Instead
I
of-
make strings.
Yeah.
Why don't I have my own strings in my ukulele case?
You'd probably have 2 full sets at least. In
Yeah,
your
always.
case.
Okay, so it's a learning experience, you know.
That's kind of like or I'll throw in
Yeah.
strings in my case.
Yeah.
But the problem also is remembering to, like, once you use them, right, remembering to replace them with
Yeah.
new strings.
Yeah.
Had I broken my A string, I would have been like,
Yeah.
it would have been done. It would have been like, oh, Aaron, could I play your guitar for a little bit?
Or
you,
while I run back to
run to the office and get my uke.
Yeah.
Like that was my last resort, is to pick up Aaron's guitar, just play solo for a bit, and just like have Aaron run to the office, which is, you know, pretty close to where the gig is. Maybe 5 minutes without traffic, but with traffic maybe 10-15. So it wouldn't have been too bad, but still, like, it was fine. So in the end, it was a happy ending.
I think some of the best places to play music at, or play like a gig at, is like music shops, right?
Yeah,
Because
they have all the stuff in there.
Yeah, right at Island Bazaar, you're playing, your A string broke, and then you're just like, do you have an extra A string I can use? So yeah, that's tip. Like, if you want a gig, ask your local music shops, because it's easy.
But yeah, I mean, you know, and I was telling Aaron that, like, because of the thing with, you know, with Jake before, and the 2 like aluminum wound C strings, like, I don't mind when people ask me questions like, oh, you know, what strings do you use, or like any kind of super like beginner questions, or super like kind of fanboyish kind of, you know, like questions and stuff, like, oh, just like, you want to do this, I want to get whatever kind of strings you have, whatever kind of what strap you have, you know, like any of those questions I always take seriously, because back then that's kind of what saved me. Like, Jake was always super nice enough to like to answer any and all of my questions, no matter how noobish it sounded, no matter how fanboyish it sounded, and he was always super nice to kind of answer my questions honestly. And yeah, so, you know, I do unto others, you know.
And that's kind of how you learn, right?
Yeah,
that's how you kind of try out different things and see what works for you. And
you find like somebody you like, or
you
like,
kind of just emulate, you know.
Yeah, whoever is like good in their field, right? And then you're just like, oh, I'm gonna copy that person. I'm gonna try and do what they do. And I think the thing about being an effective learner is like seeing what works for you, and then like seeing what doesn't work for you, right? Like how you eventually you gave up on the
definitely not working.
yeah.
But like if you know, if you are just like, oh, I'm gonna just keep doing it because Jake says, like you might have broke, it might have not ended well.
Poor like concert Kamako ukulele, like it would have been destroyed. If I think I left it on for another couple more weeks after that, it would have definitely done some damage to my bridge. So thank God, because the bridge, it's not even like, you know, slotted, not slotted, but a pin bridge is like a tie bar bridge, and it wasn't even a regular tie bar bridge. This is the kind of you made a knot at the end with the hole, so it was just that, it was just pulling on my bridge, and I think it would have messed it up, and I think it did, like a little bit. But I had it redone when I went to the Philippines in 2000, and that's why, you know, little Easter egg, when you see me playing my concert Kamaka, it has like the you know, a pick guard in there that's not like, you know, that's not nor stock with the Kamaku ukulele. It has like the black binding around it, which is not stock with the Kamaku ukulele because they fully like opened up that uke and refinished it and redid did all that, resanded it, so they would have to put a new binding on it. So that's from Emilio Lumanog in the Philippines. I don't know if he's still there, still does his stuff, but he did a really really good job redoing my ukulele. I don't recommend like getting your ukes redone by anyone other than the maker, but that was a risk that I took, and I'm glad it worked out fine. Yeah, it has a really cool small little pick guard like right here. It doesn't really guard anything, like it's at the wrong place, like
just kind of a Spanish looking.
Yeah, it looked really cool, and I think he gave me a rosette, like a white rosette too, like on that ukulele. It's really nice. He did a great job. He also made an ukulele for me, Emilio M. Lumanog. M Lumanog from the Philippines. I don't know if we can find him and put him in the show notes and stuff. You're hitting him up and whatnot for an ukulele. But yeah, good stuff. That was 19 years ago, so I don't know if he still does stuff. But yeah, it is time. It is 2:00, so it is time to say goodbye to all you folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to Thursday Live Lesson. Hopefully, we gave you guys some usable advice, and if not, there's some stories there that we told. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Check out ukuleleunderground.com to learn some songs in the ukulele, learn the stuff that we're talking about. Check out that Solo Secrets Revealed series if you guys want to learn more about soloing. Check out the brand new lesson with John Cruz. We have a bunch. Kahai, you're gonna put something up soon, right?
I'm gonna try put it up today.
Yeah, either today or tomorrow, doesn't matter. I mean, Kai's gonna put something up. It's a Q&A that we did randomly on I think Monday.
Yeah, and you can find it if you're on Ukulele Underground. You can find it under the live streams.
Yeah, so it should be good fun. Really looking forward to that. There's a bunch of other stuff that that we're going to be releasing. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We'll see you folks next time. Have a great one. Aloha.